Okay, we're in part 2 now. What would it actually mean if we were building international bridges with Skype, Facebook, and other useful technologies? Well, let's just go through it. We've got this kid who's in Florida. We have to get him filled with information so that he's able to communicate clearly. This means the kid needs to know about cultural curiosities. Differences obscure what we share, so some sort of diversity training is needed. Does anger manage you, or do you manage your anger? Let's have some emotional intelligence as well, right? So these are programs that if you go into a high school, if you go into an elementary school, you're building that foundation that's needed when this kid goes in. We of course need the monitor, the keyboard, the mouse. A lot of those things can be donated. And then maybe a new CPU for about $150. That's all it is. So it's a small computer, right? A used computer. Maybe a donated computer and it needs to be upgraded. $150, $200. Yes, eventually this will be a non-profit organization. But until then, I'm ready to get involved now. I don't need a tax break to tell me what's the right thing to do. Newspapers and education. It's very, you just have to show a kid. This is how you get on the newspapers and education. Miami Herald, excellent newspapers and education. Go to miamiherald.com, look for the NIE, newspapers and education, and sign up either as a teacher or as a student. Write to me, free English lessons at gmail.com, and I'll help you become a teacher or get registered. I've gone through the training. We can get you on board. So you've got newspapers and education. Then you're going to an elementary school as a breakfast club with mentors. See this little picture? See all these little kids eating away? There are schools where 80% of the kids get free lunch, free breakfast. And they're just sitting there scarfing down this food, and there's someone shouting, saying, "Sit down, Leonard," and "What are you doing, Jorge?" And it's generally a very loud situation. Adults are associated with controlling agents. So, how interesting. I've done this. On my way to work, I've woken up maybe an hour earlier. If I normally get up at 6:30, okay, I'm getting up at 5:30 and getting stuff out of the way so I can be at the school at 7:15 when the kids are walking in. They're sitting down, they're getting their food. Then I walk in, I sit about 3 meters away, and I start laying newspapers on the table. And I make sure there's some photos that look interesting. Maybe it's the sports section next to a kid. Maybe it's fashion or some sort of people item next to a female child. And I'm keeping a certain distance so I'm not encroaching on their personal space. And then when the kid notices that photo, I push the photo, the newspaper closer to the person. I say, "Hey, pretty interesting, isn't it? Yeah, this is an extra newspaper. You can keep it." Or, "Can you tell me who this person is? Or where do you think this person is standing?" If it's a famous person, you don't have to ask, who is Angelina Jolie or someone like this. Suddenly, the neighbor is looking over and saying, "Oh, really?" And then I open up an atlas that I bought and said, "Well, show me where our school is right now. And then let's see how far that person is from us." Or maybe it's a Titans football game that's happening. Okay? You see what's happening here? As an adult, you're participating in that student's life. Eating is more than just some cereal that's going into the mouth. Right? Breakfast Club with mentors. It's a difficult program to start. You have to say, okay, I'm going to be there once a week, or I'm going to be there every breakfast. So that means giving up 4 or 5 hours not of sleep, but of personal time that you normally, I skip Jay Leno. I TiVo him. I don't see him at 11:30 at night. My favorite late night talk shows? No, not for me. Because I'm building international bridges, and part of building those bridges is building inside of kids in the USA who don't have passports the desire to eventually get a passport. Now, what can we do for the kid over here? Well, we're not buying a computer and mailing it over there. No. I want the effort to be smart. And so it might be that I'm not going to pay myself to fly over to Kenya and then get computers donated. I'm going to use my savvy. I'm going to connect with a teacher who, like me, likes using my free time to build a better world. And so there's going to be a teacher out there who organizes 10 kids, and they go from door to door in the office district and collect old computers. Those old computers then are refurbished, if mice are needed, right? So let's say that they actually need a really good computer. I'll send the $500 that they need to them. They go buy the computer, get the virus protection software. Do you see what's going here? I'm not benefiting from this. I'm not flying over as a junket. No, I may never go to that country, but I'm helping them get set up on Skype. So, this kid is ready. Now, I can send content, electronic books. I'm theebookman.com. Find out more about Gutenberg.org if you don't know about electronic books, materials that are free on, you don't need a Kindle, you don't need these special ebook readers, you can use your current computer. That child might need to get into school. So that's another thing I support. It's something called the Gordon Dite Education Fund. A guy named Gordon Dite. We haven't set up the charity yet, but we're acting as though we have. We're saying $400 a year will pay the tuition of one child in high school in Kenya. This is probably similar in different places. Some places you have to pay to get an education. And so that's a barrier. We're about removing barriers and building international bridges. Money goes here. How do we find the internet? Ooh, we got to connect to the internet. Maybe it's giving them a laptop, and then the kid goes and sits outside the hotel and figures out how to get into the internet system of the hotel. Or more likely, you find a community center and you help the community center afford the internet connection. Maybe that's better. Again, I'm not flying over there. This is people to people, but without the costs and without the ego. It's not me coming to someone else's place or inviting them to come to my house. It's giving them the power to contact anyone. And if they don't contact me, well, at least they're talking to someone on Skype. Hopefully someone that's not teaching them how to blow things up. We need training for teachers. We need to select the best videos and texts. So that's why I have an effort called verycoolsites.com. I saw it on youtube.com. Both of these are identifying educational materials on the internet that are free and that can be shared with the student in Florida and the student in Kenya so that they have something common to talk about. Thank you for your time. If this is a relative or someone who's related in some way to Brooks Emeny, thank you for listening. And for someone who doesn't know about my grandfather, I hope that you'll write to me and we'll talk more about what he has inspired. Thank you.